It is 10/21/2024. Level Up College Football Podcast in the building. Fans First Sports Network, rocking out with Andy P and Sarah C on the podcast. And listen, wherever you get your audio podcast, be it Apple, Spotify, and or Google Podcasts, make sure you rock with us, you kick it with us, and you're watching us live on YouTube. So, hey, Andy, I see Afton over there. I just want to put her first comment up, man, just because Afton, I got to recognize and tell you straight off the bat. Yeah, I did. I had to do a safety check on mine. He couldn't take it. We're going to talk about the effing around and finding out October that we know what it is. But before I do all of that, I got to get to my co-host, Sarah. What's cracking-lacking? What's going on with you, girl? Live in the building. What's happening?
Oh, nothing much. Just another really great weekend here in Pittsburgh. An off week, but it ended on a really nice end for our pro team. Other than that, really just, working, waiting for vacation very, very shortly, and I cannot wait.
Absolutely. I was talking cash money last night too, Sarah, about them Steelers. But that's for another show and another time.
I know.
For all y'all to listen to us, make sure you swing over to Pump Your Brakes on Wednesday, because I'm going to act the donkey on Wednesday on Pump Your Brakes on Fans First Sports Network, Steel Curtain Network. Andy P, what's up with you, bro? What's cracking-lacking, and how was your football weekend, man?
Football weekend was good. It's been busy weekends around here, so I've been having to try to sneak the watches in when I can. This past weekend I had a beautiful wedding, Syracuse wedding to go to, so got to hang out with lots of peoples. And yes, he did choose to get married during the bye week. That was a strategic choice by him. That is a man who knows his audience, and I appreciated all of that. But I think last NFL content here, since we're among friends here. Last night, when Russell Wilson was 2 for 8 for 19 yards, I texted Big G and just said, he's cooked. He's so cooked. And then after that, Russell Wilson went on and just started cooking again. And I was like, all right, well, this is why I stick to college. This is why I don't do NFL analysis.
Hey, I was telling Andy, just be patient, man. Just hold on, man. Hold on. But then for a minute, I was like, yeah, he's done. And then I saw him throw a moon ball, and I was like, hey, we back in the business. But like I said, that's another podcast. That's for another conversation. And like I said, check me out on Pump Your Brakes on Wednesday, because I'm going all in on Russie. But I'm here to talk college football, because y'all, Andy, Sarah, we've been saying it. I remember when we talked about this at our pre-production meeting, and I was talking about y'all, September's going to be effing around and finding out. And like we said, and I remember we all talked about it on the show, that the number one team would change multiple times in the month of October. We predicted it. We knew it was going to happen. And just like we said, we didn't have to around and found out about college football. So this is like a 3-stage question. The question is, what did we learn from the weekend status quo and teams out there effing around and finding out? So, Sarah, I'm going to go to you first. What did we learn from all of this? Because, like I said, there's a lot of fakers out there. But I'm going to throw it to you. I'm going to succeed.
There were a lot of fakers, but I got to say, there was one comment I did make, and I was very true. Did I say not to trust that Dylan Sampson? Like, that boy can run. And I was just so happy.
Tennessee, he wasn't trash. He's a dog.
No. Yes. Yeah. And I said, if that's the only person I have to trust on that team that's going to win them games, he is the person to do it. And I am just thoroughly impressed by him every single week. I have a lot of questions for Texas, especially in your quarterback room. I'd really like to see what kind of choices you make this week. As a whole, Ewers has gone down in a lot of his numbers. So it's kind of like what made you so comfortable last year? They're saying maybe the weapons changed, but he still has all the weapons. So I have a lot of questions about that. And I don't know what to say about Bama, but I think DeBoer does not have a relationship with Milroe like he's had with previous quarterbacks. And I think that's why Milroe seems to be failing more than he is thriving. And he is just getting worse and worse with his confidence towards the end of the game. And he's the one making the mistakes and making the problems that are causing them to lose these games, which they should not be. So those were a lot of the things that I think I really saw. I loved seeing Army win another really great game. And Indiana, I mean, it sucks that they have the injury to work, but that team is pretty legit. And I listened to their coach in a couple of his interviews this past week, and I just love everything that he's building there. And I think that they really have a chance in this Big Ten. Maybe not this year, but in the coming years. He's a pretty smart dude.
I'm feeling it. And for y'all that's watching us on video, you see I flashed every trash sign you can talk about Alabama. And if you ever want to call me biased concerning Alabama, yeah, I'm biased because it's been biased forever for them, and they big trash right now. But once again, I'm gonna back up because I told my crew I'm gonna be talking cash money before we got on air. So Andy, what did we F around and find out for the weekend from you, bro? What did we find out?
I mean, I think one of the most interesting things that we've got right now are a tier of teams that are clearly talent-wise superior to everyone else, kind of looking at the Oregon, the Georgia. No, Texas didn't look great, but I still think that they're kind of in those, add Ohio State in there. Those are the 4 teams that I look at and I say, top to bottom, best teams in the country. But now you've got this like massive group of teams underneath them that are either like, Sarah talked about some of the disappointing teams, the ones that should be better than their talent indicates, or have a glaring schematic hole that's leading to some pretty inexplicable losses. But then you've also got the teams that are finding ways to win games, even though they probably shouldn't. So looking at you, Miami, who gives up 45 points, but they're 7-0 and they're undefeated on the road. And now they get to go back home and they get to play a lot of home games. I'm looking at you, LSU, who's 6-1 and undefeated in the conference and put a whooping on Arkansas. Looking at Iowa State, who's 7-0, undefeated in the Big 12. Should have lost to UCF, but here they are. They're undefeated. Looking at you, Texas A&M, undefeated in the SEC, but 6-1. There's just this, like another one. Missouri only has 1 loss so far this season, guys.
Garbage.
I'm not disagreeing, but it's just like you look at the way the records are, you look at where the teams are ranked, and you realize like we still have enough of the season where these teams could stumble and probably should stumble because I don't actually think they're that good. But to this point, they're undefeated in conference play or undefeated holistically, and most teams have played the toughest parts of their schedule. Back half of the season is just loaded with these tricky conference games where on paper they should be favored and win. Like we'll see that this week, like there's a lot of big spreads here because Vegas is looking at some of these teams and saying like, they don't believe in them. But like, I just think it's really interesting. The second class of teams that is kind of formed of your record says that you're elite, but we've all seen them and no, we don't necessarily agree with that.
Man, I don't disagree with anything you guys said. I think that there were outstanding points concerning what we done effed around and found out. But as a segue, because like I said, I'm on one of them. I'm on one of them this today. I'm on one of them. I'm ready to just assassinate every team. So I got to back up, all right? As a segue to our viewers, to our listeners, and to our watchers, I just got to know from you two, do we have a clear college football playoff right now? Because I heard Andy talking about tiers, right? We know we're going to get 11 teams from the big conferences. We're going to get one of the little scrubs who might not be such a scrub in there. So I want to say, if you had to bet the farm, and would you say there's been tiers recognized concerning the playoff? Andy, do we have a clearer picture going into week 8? Because we ain't got that many more to go. So what is your thoughts, or what are you thinking concerning the tier system, or who's in, who's out, who's a fraud? What's going on with college football, bro?
Yeah, I think when you look at it, Penn State is obviously undefeated in the Big Ten. Oregon's undefeated in the Big Ten. Ohio State has that loss to Oregon. Those 3 teams are definitively going to go into the playoff as the favorites out of the Big Ten, and they'll probably be favorites in their first games that they play. And so that's 3 from the Big Ten right away. You then
all right, I'm number counting, so I got you. There's 3.
So then you go to the SEC and you go, Texas is definitely in.
Okay.
Georgia is definitely in, is probably winning the SEC and getting that bye.
Okay.
And you're looking at probably Tennessee now with the way that their schedule is shaken out. Tennessee's probably in. And I don't love, Ole Miss is sitting here at 5-2. But they're really high in every metric. They're probably in just based off of the fact that they're a really well-liked SEC team. So now Big G, you're doing my job right here because that's 7. Yeah. Add in Boise State, who I think is your Group of 5 champion. Add in Miami, who I think wins the ACC. Add in Iowa State, who's the favorite to win the Big 12. And now, to me, you've got a spot for Notre Dame if they take care of business, and you've got a spot for Clemson if they run the table and go to the ACC title game. And that's your 12. Now, to your question was, is that clear? For me, after those first 10 names that I gave you, I don't think it really matters who takes those last 2 spots, because those 10 teams, to me, those are the ones that I'm looking at and saying, like, you all have a legitimate chance of winning one, if not multiple playoff games. Anybody else that gets added in, sorry, Tim, I just don't like Notre Dame. If they're in, I think that they're going to take an L. If LSU makes it in, I think they take an L. If Indiana gets in, they're taking an L, especially now with that quarterback situation. I just think that those 10 teams that I listed, those are the only teams that have a chance to actually win a playoff game. And those are the 10 teams that I'm kind of shifting my focus on when we talk about playoff favorites and playoff matchups.
So, listen, I like it. I like it because it's going to stir up the mess. So I'm digging it. So, Sarah, I'm going to pose this question to you. Andy left out Missouri. Andy left out Texas A&M. Andy left out possibly an Indiana team. Did you name Penn State?
I did name Penn State in the guaranteed Big Ten teams.
Okay. All right. So Andy left out possibly USC. Andy possibly left out Notre Dame. Andy left out Kansas State. Andy left out a bunch of teams. So I'm posing the same question I posed to him. Is this thing clear, or is it running amok? And we just don't know who's going to do what and how they're going to do it.
I agree with some of his top teams. I mean, I definitely I have my highlights, and I'm like Oregon, Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State, Texas, Miami. Like, those are the teams that I have the most confidence that are going to make it in, because they are ranked super high in both metrics and the AP. And then after that, though, you go into pure craziness. I don't think the Big 12 is as solid as maybe possibly everyone thinks. I don't have as much confidence in Iowa State. BYU, though, they are not winning games like they should. But I think Kansas State's really, really built up a team as the season has gone. They looked really, really great this past weekend. I mean, I know that it wasn't a tough game for them, but I really think that Avery Johnson is getting super comfortable in his throwing game, which I think is something that we didn't see in the beginning, which I'm really, really intrigued to see. I definitely I have a lot of faith in Boise. I think Notre Dame's going to make it because they're another one of those ones that are super high on the matrices for besides the AP pool. They have a lot of faith in their talent and their team and who they've played against. I don't agree. I don't think USC has any chance. I mean, they have way too many losses. And I was going to bring this up earlier, and I totally forgot. I think Lincoln Riley might have and they're not talking about it much, but his job could possibly be in jeopardy because he's just losing games that they have the more talent on that team. Miller Moss actually looks good. But how are you losing these games consistently? They look like Bama in the fourth quarter. Like, that entire team loses all confidence. And that goes back to your coach, in my opinion. So I think that that's just something that I've been having. I looked at it last week when they lost, and then this week. And I'm like, this is just a little too much. And those fans, Matt Leinart put something on X about how sad he was and how he thinks, the team's falling apart. So, I do agree with Andy's, a lot of his take on that. But yeah, I think those some of those things are not as clear to me. And I think this one game in the SEC with the 2 undefeated SEC teams in the conference is really going to say who that actual possible 4th team is going to be. I don't know. I don't see Ole Miss, but I think it'll end up being either LSU or A&M who will be that 4th team that goes in my opinion.
I feel it. So 2 points. The top 5 that we all agree are in the playoffs, they all flawed. Every last one of them has a flaw. So there's no super dominant team. But then I left out some party crashers on purpose so I could, talk about them because I didn't know. I was going to see if y'all could bring them up. But there's teams like Pittsburgh, Navy, Army. These are party crashers. These are teams that can jump in and shake this thing loose. Indiana's a party crasher. Legitimately could just mess it up, right? And you guys both know, because we all love college football. We've all been watching it for years. We ain't had our upset Saturday yet. And it happens every dang on year. There's not a year that's went by that I can remember that we didn't have an upset Saturday. So we've had teams in the top 10 lose, because it looks like there's parity in college football. But I'm talking about when the badness goes on and teams start dropping the teams that's got 4 or 5 records. That's coming. It happens every single dang on year. So in my opinion, I think we got a lot more muddy water than we've ever had before in college football because I cannot name a concise dog. There's not one team out there I'll be like, yeah, they're going to win it. Nah, not this year. Nobody is the real, like where I can say, Oregon, how tough are you? And we're going to talk about that with our schedule, when we get to our schedule. Ohio State, where the defense at, dog? What's going on? Georgia, Carson Beck, even though you blew Texas out, look big trash. There's teams that when you start running down that top 5, Tennessee, Nico can either lose you a game or win you a game. It's a lot going on with that top 5, and you're like, yeah, Penn State, or can you beat Ohio State? Because you ain't never did it. So, it's a whole lot with them top 5, and I'm like, I don't know. So that's why I'm saying that, we talking about it. All right, listen, so we got another segue and up underneath the same thing. I also believe that this is the first time in a long time, who in the heck's going to win the Heisman Trophy? Because I'm telling you right now, it's some mess out there. And I'm not saying there ain't dogs. I did some research today in the pre-production and looking up the last time we had some stuff like this, right? And it was actually, to me, Barry Sanders' year. And this is eerily similar to Barry Sanders' Heisman Trophy winning season from Oklahoma State. So before I get to what I'm talking about with the Heisman, because I think this is muddy waters too, Andy, what you thinking about with the Heisman this year? Because it's muddy to me.
I think it's a little, again, I think that we're settling in on one of 3 different types of players who can win the Heisman this year. I think Travis Hunter, unfortunately, is starting to get hurt, and I think he is going to drop out of the race just because of availability. So, again, if he was healthy for a full year, he is the exceptional, amazing player, once-in-a-generation type guy. That's the type of player he is. I just don't think he's going to be healthy enough for the year. You've got Ashton Jeanty in the record-breaking season category, who, again, if he beats Barry Sanders' record, I think that he gets the Heisman because that has been such a long-standing record, and he's doing it for a team that is probably going to make the playoff. They've got a big game this week where I think we can maybe see his Heisman coming out game in a meaningful contest. You then got quarterback of the best team. That's Dylan Gabriel. If Oregon runs the table, Dylan Gabriel will be invited to New York. Does he win the Heisman? I don't know, but quarterback of the best team almost always gets an invite to New York for these things. So that's going to be Dylan Gabriel. And then the third guy is the most exciting electric quarterback on a playoff team. And that's Cam Ward, who at this point in time now is throwing up insane numbers. He's winning Miami, all these close, heart-pounding games. Personally, I think it's really obviously going to be Ashton Jeanty, but he's a running back and running backs get hurt. So I do know that there's that caveat there, but for me, it's Ashton Jeanty by a mile. And then everybody else is kind of sitting back there. But again, He's a running back for Boise State. Him winning the Heisman would be a bit of an upset just in terms of how this award's been handed out for the last 25 years.
I'm feeling it, bro. I'm absolutely feeling it. Sarah, is it similar, or have you seen a year that it's just been running amok concerning the Heisman Trophy?
Not really. I mean, not from what I've been paying attention in the past 20 plus years of college football. It always seems to be that by this time, I think that, Andy really has it perfectly set on who those three are. And sadly, again, Travis Hunter, going out for his sore shoulder. I mean, who knows if he's even going to play a full, complete game and be on both sides anymore, which is sad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but he's going to be a great player no matter what in the NFL. So I have no worries. I would like to see Genty do it. And if he breaks that record, I mean, there's absolutely no question on whether or not he should win it. And if he doesn't, then we have a lot of questions for this Heisman collective. And I mean, I've been questioning them for some of the other choices that they've made in the years, but they're making some good ones recently. So finally starting to have belief in them. I think Ward's just so exciting. I think it's going to end up being the Ward and Gabriel, as long as Gabriel doesn't have that slip in a game. And we don't see a big slip in Oregon in the next couple of weeks, but they have a super, super easy schedule now. So I don't have a lot to add to it. I would love to see a surprise. Sadly, I just don't think that they're there anymore. I mean, I really had a lot of faith in those freshman wide receivers, but Ryan Williams' team is just trash now. So, I mean, what are you going to do? You can't put somebody in there like that. And I would love to see even, someone like Jeremiah Smith make it into that odds, but they're adding someone like Clemson's quarterback and stuff like that in the odds makers. I think he's good. I don't see a Heisman Trophy good enough, in my opinion. Yeah. They even said Indiana's quarterback was finally getting some recognition, which I think he's good again, but I don't think Heisman Trophy top. So I think it is becoming a 3-man race, 4-man if Hunter can somehow miraculously be healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So 1988, 1989, right? Troy Aikman was your number 1 overall pick, Heisman finalist. Barry Sanders, the number 3 overall pick, Detroit Lions. Oklahoma State Heisman winner. Deion Sanders, the number 5 pick by the Atlanta Falcons, finished in the top 5 in the Heisman Trophy that year. I think we're looking at the same thing with Shedeur, with Travis Hunter, and with Genty. I think the kid at Boise State should be the guy because he's going to break all the records. However, I don't know, because if you even go back and look at that draft, look at the trash quarterback play we're getting this year. Shedeur's a clear number 1, and all the rest of the college quarterbacks maybe or maybe not. There was a guy named Elkins picked number 32 overall by the Kansas City Chiefs that same year. Nobody remembers who Elkins was as a quarterback. That's what's going to happen with this draft. You're going to remember Shedeur and all the rest of them. Like, it don't even matter, right? They'll go high in the draft because we're a quarterback-driven league. But I think that this is the year, like that year, that you got to have the dog win the Heisman. And look at that class. I mean, that top 5, if you go back and look at that class, that might have been the best draft in NFL history, top 6, matter of fact. Troy Aikman, Tony Mandridge was a bust, totally, but everybody knew it was incredible bulk. He was on the Sports Illustrated cover. Barry Sanders, Derek Thomas, Deion Sanders, Broderick Thomas. That's unbelievable. We might have that this year. Now, I know Genty ain't going in the top 5, but he should, because he can save a franchise. Ask the Dallas Cowboys. Can he save a franchise? Because they don't have no running back. So he can save a franchise. But I think we have that same type of quality players. All right? Makes sense. I'm just asking, I need to get clarity from my crew, because if y'all say, Sean, you off, G, you off, you talking crazy, I'm with you. But I just think I'm seeing that out of this year's draft. Your thoughts, you guys' thoughts before we go to break.
No, I like what you're saying, and I think one of the interesting things is just going to be, does a quarterback go number 1? I was talking with Sarah before you jumped on. The Cleveland Browns are now in a situation where we didn't think they'd be taking a quarterback if they were in the top, but maybe they are now. And there's some of these teams like Carolina, like, do they really take another quarterback if they're at the top there? This is just the draft where there are enough good non-quarterbacks that I think it's defensible for you to take someone like Travis Hunter instead of a quarterback because, look, even if Travis Hunter is great, you'll still probably be back next year and grab another quarterback when the draft class is deeper. So yeah, I like that idea, and I would love to see Cam Ward get a little bit more love here. I know that he's not exactly the perfect quarterback, but I do think that Cam Ward can win you some games, and that is just an innate quality that he possesses and that he, showed last year and is now showing this year just on a bigger stage.
I'm with it. Sarah, you agree?
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree. I think Cam Ward is one of the most entertaining quarterbacks I've seen besides probably Sanders. Sanders has a great arm and great accuracy. I mean, he can put a ball into anything. I think it's going to be also based on who's going to be number one, who actually is going to be up there and who they can trade away or who they can get. I mean, it's always going to be quarterbacks, but I think this is going to be heavier in the other positions in the draft. I just don't see a lot of quarterbacks going up that high. I sadly don't think, Genty will make it into the number one pick, but I still think there's a lot of teams that he could end up going at least in the top 10. I think the running back talent is lacking right now in the NFL, and that would be someone that would very much change a team. And it would be nice to see someone like that because from what I've read and from what I've seen, this kid is so impressive on the field and off the field, and he will impress all these teams that they could end up having so much faith in him that they could turn their team around and take him really, really early. So I'm interested. I can't wait. I mean, I love that time of year. So
yeah, facts. All right, y'all, we got to pay some bills. Pause for the cause. If you're watching this live on YouTube, we'll be right back with the Level Up College Football Podcast. If you're listening to us on audio, wherever you get your audio podcast, Spotify, Google, Apple, wherever you're listening to us right now, make sure that you lock in with the Fans First Sports Network, and we'll be right back with the Level Up Football Podcast. We took a break. We paid some bills. We paused for the cause. We're back with the Level Up College Football Podcast live on YouTube and wherever you're listening for your audio pleasure. Make sure you rock with Fans First Sports Network. I'm sitting with Sarah and Andy. We chopping up college football. Now, listen, this next subject, we're going to go real quick because I think that it's due a subject before we get to our game and our rundown, right? So we talked about pressure, being under pressure. There's a lot of teams that's done effed around and found out. We see some fraudulent stuff going on. We see teams taking L dogs like they ain't no tomorrow, including a traditionally power-packed program like Alabama. I want to get the one team that you think is most likely to respond and right the ship, make it into the playoffs, and act a donkey when they get in there. So, Sarah, I'm going to start with you. The one team that you think is going to right the ship, they took an L. We've seen how fraudulent they are in some areas, and they're going to get this thing done. If you had to pick one team and bank on them today.
I mentioned this earlier, I think it's going to be Texas because I think that Arch Manning's going to end up coming in. And I think that he's going to end up being the difference maker because I think that's your final straw. I mean, they definitely had a hard time against Georgia's defense, and Ewers just looked – I don't think he's healthy either. Like, I think that he is not 100%, and that is causing a lot of these issues. So you need someone who can get out of the pocket and run and do the fancy stuff that he just isn't capable of doing because you're going to be going up against these teams that aren't allowing your offense to get any yards. I mean, Georgia only allowed them 259 total yards in offense. So if you don't make the change soon with Sarkisian's, type of play calling, then I don't know where you're going to see yourself. Yeah, you're going to be in the playoffs, but are you ever going to become what you thought you was the number one team? So I truly, in my opinion, I think they're under the most pressure. I think that Georgia took a lot of their pressure off this week. I don't have a lot of faith in Beck, but I have a lot of faith in Kirby Smart because that man does not like to lose, and he will make sure that they will not lose. So I definitely think that Texas is the one under the most pressure and the one that I think is going to make a change sooner rather than later to end up winning.
Yeah, Andy, before I get to you, I want to ask the live chat. Live chat, who do you think is the one team that can get it get the ship rectified and head in the right direction and pull this thing off. So I got that question to the chat. But Andy, I'm going to ask you, man, who are you thinking, bro? Who you think is going to get it done?
I don't think they're going to make the playoff, but I think they're about to make life very difficult for the rest of the SEC. Florida finally did the thing that they should have done a while ago. They've gone to the freshman quarterback who just brings the level of explosiveness to that offense. And look, I'm not saying that Billy Napier saved his job, but they have over their next 5 games, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State. They might not win. They might only win one of those games. But if they beat any one of those teams, it fundamentally shifts the playoff. If they beat Ole Miss is out of the playoff picture. If they beat LSU, LSU is probably on the outside of the playoff picture looking in. If they beat Georgia or Texas, it knocks Georgia and Texas down to the fringes of the playoff. And a few weeks ago, I would have said, nah, there's no hope that Florida can even hang in these games. But the defense has been good all year. It's just been overextended because of the offense going 3 and out every down. And now they're in a situation where they have a quarterback who can make plays and score points. And when he's on, he's on. He's a running quarterback who can make things happen. I am sitting here saying I think Florida is going to knock off one of Georgia, Texas, LSU, or Ole Miss and be an impact player in the playoff race here. And I think that if they win one of those games, I think it saves Billy Napier his job because they finished the year at Florida State, meaning that they just need to win 2 games to go to a bowl. They knock off one of those teams. They beat Florida State. They go to a bowl game. Billy Napier's job is saved.
Man, I like both of those picks. Now, the front runner pick would be for me to say that the Buckeyes going to get it together, right? And it's obvious they have to. Ryan Day's cook. So I'm going to stay away from the Buckeyes. I'm going to stay away from it. I'm just going to be honest and look around. I'm going to tell you who the scariest team is out there. And I think that they finally found their quarterback, Texas A&M University. I think Texas A&M could get hotter than a firecracker going down this last stretch. And they got a lot of teams right where they want them, including playing them Longhorn boys down there in Kyle Field the last game of the season. And for years, A&M has always looked like they the little brother of the state of Texas, and that's why Texas A&M jumped to the SEC. But as you know, the Longhorns then effed around and find out what the SEC is really about. And by the way, we got a game coming up this week for them Longhorn boys. We're going to really see what they about because there's a lot going on down there in the SEC. So I think that A&M, when I start picking teams, 3 qualifications, you can run the ball. Number 1. Your defensive line can kill your quarterback without blitzing. Number 2, and you got a quarterback that can steer the ship when you need the ship steered. Texas A&M qualifies. And that team, that means you can beat anybody, anywhere, at any time. You can beat them. And that's why Texas A&M to me is scary because I think they got all 3 of those things, right? And there's not a lot of teams that have that. There's teams that got 2.5, teams that's got 1. I don't know. But to have all 3, A&M, maybe 1 or 2 other teams actually have that formula, right? So that's what I'm thinking. All right, y'all, we got to do, and listen, the live chat was talking about Iowa State, maybe the Buckeyes, maybe BYU. I saw that from Tim Afton and the crew over there. I'm seeing y'all. I'm feeling y'all, man. So, yeah. But I don't know. I just think that Texas A&M is a dangerous team. And, Tim, you should be happy as all get up because if A&M make the playoff and Notre Dame went out, Notre Dame is for sure in the playoff because they beat A&M. So anyway, let's get to the games. Let's get to the lineup. Let's give the people what they came here for today. We're going to talk a couple of games, and then we're going to go to commercial. So let's do the first game. Andy, we ain't had a chance to really talk about who we talking about right off the bat. This your squad. This the home team, right? They in position now. They in position. They are. Syracuse could get a huge win. If they beat Pitt this weekend, and be in position where it could be Miami, Clemson, and Syracuse talking about who's going to play for that ACC championship. So we got Syracuse versus number 19 Pitt, 5.5-point favorite for the Pittsburgh Panthers. Andy, talk to me, dog. This is your squad. The Cuse versus them Pitt Panthers.
Yeah, I gotta really be succinct here because there's a lot of things to dive into. One of the big ones that you gotta dive into here is that Syracuse has not won in Pittsburgh in a very, very long time. In fact, the last time that Syracuse was able to win in Pittsburgh was the first year that Heinz Field was open in 2001. That's how long it's been since Syracuse has been able to beat Pitt in Acrisure, Heinz Field, whatever you want to call it now. So this is not like this is why the spread is the way it is. This is why people are saying like this should be a win for Pitt. However, one of the biggest changes for Syracuse going into this matchup that I think will determine whether or not the Orange pull the upset is if Marlowe Wax returns for the Orange. Marlowe Wax is the starting inside linebacker for the Orange. He was the green dot in the opening game of the season, got hurt in the opening game, has not played, and that has essentially caused the defense to fundamentally shift what it wants to do. They want to play a 4-2-5 with Fadil Diggs, the Texas A&M transfer. They want him on the edge being that old school Chandler Jones edge rusher, just disrupt off the line. But because they lost Wax so early in the year and they didn't have a natural replacement for him, they moved Justin Barron, the safety, down into the linebacker position, and then they moved Fadil Diggs off of the line and into an outside linebacker slot. So they moved from a 4-2-5 to a 3-3-5, and that has caused all sorts of issues schematically because they've not played a 3-3-5 in the last, I think, 7 or 8 years at Syracuse. So it's been a huge shift and change. If Wax comes back into this game, one, that means if you're the Pitt offense, you're now game planning for an entirely different offense than what's been on film for the last few weeks. And two, for Syracuse, it means they can go back to what makes them so potentially dominant on defense, which is Fadil off the edge, containing plays going left to right, Wax containing everything up the middle, and you have Justin Barron who can then get moved around and be played wherever the play is going, wherever the matchup is the most disruptive. And that's why Syracuse's defense was looking to be potentially so much better than it's been on paper so far. Fadil, Wax, and Barron are all NFL players next year. I'm hearing Wax is practicing. I'm hearing Wax is ready to go. But because it's a Thursday night game, short week, don't necessarily know if they're going to push him into that or not. But that, to me, is the entire game. Is that one player coming in and playing completely changes the entire dynamic for both sides of the ball here.
Loving it. Sarah, so we're going to flip the script. We're going to ask the other side of the ball. All right. You got two quarterbacks. One of them is an Alabama transfer that's played his heart out this year for the Pittsburgh Panthers. You know how I feel about the big trash Kyle McCord, but he's been over there handling his business. He got for a lot of yards, man, and he scores a lot of points. So do you think that this game comes down to quarterback play versus Pitt versus Syracuse concerning the final outcome of the game?
Yeah, I really do. I just think that, the defense, if you guys do get that player back, I'd be very intrigued to see how it goes, because right now when you look at the stats since he has left, it's pretty even. The one thing that I was very impressed of right before Pitt had this week off was that their defense finally was doing and making plays that they could finally, take over the game, because Holstein wasn't having the best game their last game. So I'm really, really excited to see them get back to that, because that's truly what we have been known for. I mean, I say we like I went there or anything. I did not. But
you gotta die with the Panthers. That's your squad. Now, come on now.
I have a lot of friends that, are huge Panthers fans, and I just love seeing them be so happy, and I'm surrounded by it all the time. So I think that it's going to definitely be an offensive battle, but I would like to see how both of these defenses can play, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But I really, really want to see Pitt pull this off, because I think that I don't want this to end up being a trap game for them to lose, and then all they're thinking about is Clemson. So that's really my biggest test that I want to see, is that they're not looking so far forward that they're going to skip on this game because Narduzzi is very much well known for that. And if you have to hear as much news about him as I do daily, he's not always looked at very highly. So I would like to see them really, really play a solid game and be able to pull it off.
You know, in the pre-production meeting, I didn't want to stir it up between you two, but I knew it was there. So because I wanted a live reaction on air, right? So I know where Sarah's at with Pittsburgh. I know where Andy's at with Syracuse. So I might not even give a score or a prediction. I just want to see what y'all got to say. And I want to see how much bias is actually in the room concerning Syracuse and Pitt. So, Sarah, I'm going to go to you first. Who you got winning this game?
So I like I said, I take Pitt. I think that we're going to definitely let a few touchdowns out. I think that both of these offenses can score, so they're going to. I don't see it being a blowout, but I think it's going to be a close game, and I think they're going to pull it off. I actually like this spread because that's kind of almost what I used. When I looked, it was still at 6, but I went for 34-28 to those Panthers.
Oh, Andy, she talking strong, dog. She talking real strong. I just want to see you ready to move some furniture. You gonna talk that yak about them Syracuse Orange, or which way you going, dog? How's this game going down on what you see for the score?
All I'm going to say is that all the numbers say that Pitt should win this game, that they're the better team. And like I said, I think if Marlowe Wax comes back, this is the best version of that Syracuse team. And I have been loving the Syracuse digital team. Shout out to them. They've been doing these recap videos. Kyle McCord is running that locker room right now. He is the second coach for them. I love the fire that he brings. That is what Syracuse has been missing in games like this. They go into Acrisure, it's half filled, it's empty, but it's a house of horrors for them every time. I think this is my bias coming through because I'm almost always with the numbers, but I'm taking Syracuse to pull the upset here. I think Syracuse wins this one 38-27. Kyle McCord goes off for over 300 yards passing. LaQuint Allen punches it in multiple times. I'm riding with my orange here, and in typical Syracuse fashion, they'll win this one. And then next week, when I think they have one of those Tobacco Road teams at home. That's when they drop the game.
Yeah, hey, listen, man. I knew it was going to be some furniture moved around and be some yak talking, man. So I knew I was going to have to be the deciding vote, man. Something is telling me that Kyle McCord is going to win this game. I like Pitt. I think that they're a good team. They're a feel-good story. They could actually rep the college football playoff, I think for sure. But something is telling me McCord is about to go off. Something's telling me that it's in him, and he's about to – I like that little fiery guy standing on the sideline talking about they're not that effing good. They're not that good. I like that guy. So I wish we'd had him in Columbus, but we didn't. And something is telling me that the big trash is about to handle this business. So give me the Cuse to win, man, 27-24. Give me the Cuse to win the game. All right, listen, the live chat talking crazy. After said every time I hold up the bias sign, she can identify. Listen, I know about the bias. Trust me, I know. I understand the bias, right? So, but this one, I just had to go with McCord. And y'all know I done dog Kyle McCord out over the last year. Oh my God, I assassinated him and his daddy. but right now, I'm gonna ride with Syracuse, man. All right, next game. Timmy Lyons. We got a game for you, dog. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish come in ranked number 12 in the country, minus 12.5. And their service academy is sitting at 24. Then circled the wagons, then pinpointed this game by saying, if we beat Notre Dame, we in the playoff. So listen, this game is going to be closer than what anybody expects because I think Navy's got some players. But I'm going to give it to my crew. I'm going to see what they got to say. After Navy and Notre Dame, what you got? Oh, I said Afton. Sarah, because I'm looking at Afton's comment. My bad. I'm looking
Oh,
at after
goodness.
comment.
It's an interesting matchup, I really think, because Notre Dame's defense is really putting the pressure on. Because I don't have a lot of really great things to say about their offense. I'm sorry, Tim. Riley Leonard, I mean, he can run. He's really great, but they rely on it way too much. So I think it's going to come down to this defense and Navy's offensive line. I think that they have really, really been able to protect their quarterback. And these service academies with these quarterbacks, the fact that they have been able to be super, super accurate, they have the speed, they are able to get out of the pocket. I mean, Navy's only allowed 3 sacks. But Notre Dame's defensive line is definitely going to put up a battle. And they've only allowed 11 almost 12 points per game. And Navy's been putting up like 30 to 40 almost every single week. I mean, they are just scoring like crazy. So I really think it's going to come down into the trenches for this game. And I think it's going to be mostly on Notre Dame's defensive line versus Navy's offensive line. I just really, really think that if Navy can keep their quarterback safe and let him break, that he's definitely going to give Notre Dame some problems. But I don't think the upset's coming just yet. I think Army has a little bit of a better chance, but I'm sorry to say, I really think one of these service academies is going to pull this off against Notre Dame because they just seem to really have the talent and the coaching on both ends right now that I'm extremely, extremely impressed with the entire conference.
So, Sarah, this comment ain't for you. This ain't for Andy either. This is for Tim Lyons, and that's why I posted the comment. So, Tim Lyons, you get the big bias sign based on the comment you just put up there. But listen, Andy, what you talking about, man? Because I know you're going to break the numbers down. What's going on with Navy versus Notre Dame?
I think one of the interesting things about the service academies has been their reliance on the option. But one of the things that has really fundamentally changed this year with both Navy and Army and why they're so good is that they are throwing the ball more out of a triple option wishbone set than we've ever seen before. And I was very lucky. I stumbled upon through the algorithms, I was able to find some great videos that were really breaking down on Instagram, really breaking down the thing that they do with this counter flexbone option, where they essentially have the tight ends moving around pre-snap, doing all the pre-snap motion that you need to do to identify the defense. And then these tight ends are essentially dropping back either to block or they're running fly routes. And it's creating all this confusion in the second level. And it's really what they're not asking their quarterbacks to dissect an offense. They're asking their quarterbacks to essentially make the easy downfield throw if everything pre-snap ends up working out for them. And Navy does this better than Army. Army has only attempted a pass 47 times. Navy has almost doubled that. They're sitting in the mid-70s, and Blake Horvath has over 800 yards passing, averaging 12.3 yards per completion. I think that Navy is probably the more schematic challenge than Army, just because they have that extra dynamic of a passing attack. And for me, I think this is where, when you are Notre Dame, the offense becomes so important. I think Notre Dame's defense is going to have moments where it struggles with the triple option, because that's always what happens when you play a service academy after you've played a normal team. It's just really tough to game plan for it. So it's going to come down to Riley Leonard and the offense being more physical than Navy's defense. And that, to me, is where I'm looking at this game, and I just am like a little bit concerned, because Navy's defense is good. It's not great. It's 65th in the country according to SP+. I just don't love how that side of the ball matches up for Navy versus the other side of the ball.
Well, I agree with both of what y'all saying. But the issue is Horvath is the best quarterback that's been in Navy since Roger Staubach. That's number one. And number two, is that I think Notre Dame has a top 10 defense in the country. But what's the kryptonite to beat a top 10 defense? A team comes in and plays something different that you really only have a week to prepare for, because everybody else plays additional 11 personnel, 12 personnel. They haven't seen this schematically. Georgia Tech lines up and runs the ball, but not out of the triple option set. And so what the triple option set demands from you is discipline, discipline, discipline. You cannot go away from your keys, because the minute you do, that's when they burn you with a wheel route with a running back coming out of the backfield. That's when they burn you with the two tight end set running down the sideline. And you're like, wait a minute, who's got who and how and what? And you get so friendly towards attacking the run or aggressive towards attacking the run. Can you play with your keys? And the kid, like you said, Andy, the kid from Navy can throw the ball. He can throw the ball. So this is a little questionnaire game. I'm going to let y'all do the picking first. Andy, who you got? Navy versus Notre Dame, bro.
I want to pick Navy to win this game. I love that it is in a neutral site. I jokingly put in NYC because it's in MetLife, which is out in New Jersey. I do think that because this is a big game where it's taken out of South Bend, it's going to be at a neutral site. Marcus Freeman has done a really good job of making sure Notre Dame is prepared for those big marquee games. He gets tripped up when the Ball States come into South Bend and it's a regular home game week. So just by nature of this, I do think that the Notre Dame is going to be prepared. I do think they're going to be disciplined. I think Navy is going to give them a great punch in the gut. But I do think that the Notre Dame offense is just bigger and more physical than Navy's defense. I do think that Notre Dame's defense is one of the best units in the country and will be able to adjust quicker than other teams will. Give me Notre Dame to win this one 25-17. Close game, but Notre Dame's leading and in control of the game most of the way.
I feel it. Sarah, who you got this week with the Notre Dame Navy matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Andy. I really wanted to pick Navy really, really bad. Like, I think that it's just been awesome to watch. But I think that Notre Dame's defense is just way too dominant for them. And I would like to see what Horvath can do with more of the passing. I mean, he's their number one rusher, and he is a good passer. But if he has to throw more than 15 times in the game, I think that's really going to be where the issues start to lie on. I do agree with Navy's defense. That's why I think that this isn't the upset game that Notre Dame is possibly going to have against one of these service academies, because that Navy's defense is not as strong. I went with a little bit of a higher scoring game and close, though. I went with Notre Dame 34 and Navy 30, because they're going to get their points. It's just going to be on how many stops you can get.
Yeah. Listen, I'm gonna be honest. I want to pick Navy bad. I really, Tim, I see you, man. I want to pick Navy real bad, but I don't know if they got enough on defense to stop Notre Dame's offense, and that's not saying a lot, because Sam Hartman has been big trash. Sam Hartman has been trash all season. That dude is not that guy. No, it's not even Hartman. It's the kid that transferred from Duke. I'm thinking a year back. That's how trash the quarterback is. I mean,
it's true. It's true. So I didn't want to correct you because it's not wrong.
Leonard is the quarterback that transferred from Duke. So they the same, both big trash quarterbacks. So he ain't doing nothing different. He can't throw the ball. He doesn't have a vertical threat at Notre Dame. But Notre Dame's defense is really that good. And I think that they're gonna be disciplined enough to understand that they have to do what they have to do with the triple option. So, but I think this game's going to be way closer than both of y'all. I got Notre Dame winning 27-24 and having to score late to win. So I just think that they'll get it done. And it could be possibly when Notre Dame gets a defensive touchdown that bails them out. It could be, because I like their defense. I really do believe that they have a top 10 defense, but who plays for Notre Dame on offense? All right, y'all, we got a couple more games to cover. We're going to pause for the calls, take a quick commercial break. If you're listening to us live on audio, check out the Fans First Sports Network Level Up College Football Podcast. If you're watching us on video, we'll be right back. And we're back with the Level Up College Football Podcast. Andy P, Sarah C, Big G chopping it up. We didn't have some disagreements. We didn't have some furniture moving around. We got another game that, we're going, because like I said, it's October. So some of the games we picked was F around and find out for sure. So the next game we got, hey, Longhorns, how you doing over there? Y'all talked all that big trash. Y'all was the best team in the country. And by the way, Texas Longhorn fans, you need to be punished for what you did. And I've never seen in my life, and I have never seen in my life referees get together after they make a call on the field that is not reviewable and say, you know what, because of all these bottles and cans and stuff thrown down on the field, we're gonna reverse this call because we're gonna F around and find out, can we get out of Austin, Texas alive? So because it was some stuff going on over there. I've never seen that happen. I've coached football, I played football. I've never seen it happen. Never. When they reversed the call based on some fans throwing some bottles on the field. Well, anyway, now this Longhorn team that we don't know who's playing quarterback for them. If you haven't watched my clip where I called for Ewers to not be that guy, and I told Arch Manning is the most dangerous quarterback in the country, go back and check that out on all platforms because I called it from a G. Stradamus standpoint way before it happened. So now they're reeling. They might be pissed off, and they got to go to Vanderbilt, who already knows that they got the Mexican Manziel playing quarterback and then already pulled the upset of the year off by knocking off Bama. So it's Vanderbilt versus Texas. 18.5-point favorites for Texas. Sarah, who you got?
So, like I said earlier, I think you really have to put Ewers on a short leash. I think they'll still start him just because they're not going to take that away from him yet, even though I believe that they should. But Texas still has the number one overall defense. And that was the one highlight of that team that day was that defense and that secondary and the amount of interceptions. Now, I agree. I've never seen a reverse call, but it was a trash call. So, maybe that's why they were throwing trash on the field. But I don't agree with the fact that they did it because it just makes the circumstances look awful in the end. And now you have no idea what these fans are going to do because these fans in these SEC teams or any of these big teams anymore, they want to do something crazy every single week. Yep. I have a lot of faith in Pavia, though. I really love watching him, but I think that he's going to start throwing some of those interceptions that he hasn't yet. So I just really want to look at Texas's defense to really come back and play a really, really solid game and really give a good fight because we don't know what that offense is going to look like. So that's really where I'm going to be paying the most attention to because I think that just seems to be their strength right now until they can figure this whole offensive part out. And I think that, the one really great thing is that they don't if you get into the red zone, you're not going to score a touchdown. So it'll be interesting to see how often, Vanderbilt's going to get all the way down there or if Pavia is going to be throwing those 30, 40-yard passes that he's very good at doing. But I think if they do a lot more rushing and they're doing these short yardages and getting down into the red zone, Texas is going to stop them. So that's really my highlight right now. And that's really the thing that I just have a lot of faith in is that Texas defense. And it was probably one of the more entertaining parts of that game. Besides the fact that it was another upset.
Yeah. Now, Andy, they clown in Nashville. They clown. When they listen, they carried the goalposts all around downtown Nashville after they beat Alabama. And I watched a great YouTube on Pavio, how he talks about his heritage, where he comes from, how he represents his culture, how he wasn't supposed to be at Vanderbilt based on all the things that he went through concerning a young man being able to go into that school and how literally, like Johnny Manziel, the entire university has gotten behind this kid because they're saying he's our savior. He's saving our program. And listen, when I'm telling you the hype is real in Vanderbilt, the hype is real. And they're ranked, Andy, number 25. So I just got to know, Andy, do they got a chance of hell against Texas A&M, or is this thing over with quick, fast, and hurry?
No, because the worst thing that could have happened for Vanderbilt was Texas losing that game. That there is no sneaking up on anybody right now. There's no sneaking up on Sark after a big win against Georgia, the way that they snuck up on Alabama after Alabama had their big win. The problem is that against Georgia, Texas has been relying on screen game to control the passing attack, to mitigate the Quinn Ewers effect, to mitigate the Arch Manning effect. And Georgia was just simply bigger and stronger in the trenches and able to blow up every attempt at any consistency with that screen game. Vanderbilt is not going to be able to do that. And Texas is now going to stop trying to play so east-west, and they're going to try to play north-south in this game to reestablish dominance, reestablish the confidence in that offensive line. I just don't see a scenario here where Vanderbilt can really hang with a Texas team that's locked in. And we know that they're going to be locked in for this contest after what happened both in the Georgia game and now that Vanderbilt's ranked and no longer a surprise. It's a great story, and I think Pavia can definitely make some magic happen here. But you gotta catch teams by surprise here, and Texas is not going to be surprised coming into this game.
Listen, I ain't mad at neither one of y'all, but I'm going to say this, and I mean this, and just following up what I've already said. Quinn Ewers is not, and I repeat, not the quarterback that you need in order to win the national championship, Longhorns. You got a Maserati sitting in the garage, and you refuse to play it. And I don't know what that's all about. I don't know if that's Steve Sarkisian. I don't know what that is. But if the longer you keep Ewers in at quarterback, the faster you're going to find out that he ain't the guy. So I'm going to pick my score first. I think this game goes down to the wire. But I got Texas winning just because I know at some stage of the game, he's going to switch quarterbacks because he knows Arch is the guy. And Quinn, I'm sorry. I know you was the best player in all high school football coming out. I know you got $1 million from Ohio State. I know you transferred down there. But you ain't that dude, bro. You ain't that guy. And if Sarkisian wants to win a national championship, this is not the week he needs to F around and find out. So give me the Longhorns to win 27-24. Sarah, your score.
So I think Texas is going to have quite the comeback game. I see at least one pick six because they couldn't seem to get that this last week. But I went with Texas at 48-24. I just think that I think Arch is going to end up getting in that game probably within the beginning, mid first half. I think their Ewers is going to do something or just not even do anything. And they have to make the change. I just can't watch it anymore. I mean, his offensive production has gone down so much. It's just not entertaining. And their team is too good for them to let this happen.
All right, Andy, who you got, man? What's your score?
Yeah, I'm with Sarah here. I just think that there's going to be a big bounce back effect here for Texas and Sark. Give me the numbers. Really like Texas in this game. Give me the Longhorns 38-13. I think it's going to be a beat down, and I love Diego Pavia, but I think this is just going to be one where he's drawing blanks, and the Texas defense really steps up here.
I like it. I like it, y'all. All right, we got one last game to cover. I think the biggest game of the slate for the weekend. LSU, number 8. Texas A&M, number 14. A&M a 2.5-point favorite. Down at that dang on 12th man, notorious stadium down there, Kyle Field. What y'all thinking? Andy, A&M versus LSU. What you got, dog?
This feels like another college football playoff elimination game where I don't know if either team gets into the playoff with 2 losses, but they both have 1 loss in really interesting scenarios. LSU, again, has just rebounded so well from that first loss against USC. The offense is clicking. The offense is humming. Nussmeier really looks like he's controlling the offense, and the stats are backing it up that LSU's offense is elite. And meanwhile, Texas A&M, that defense is exactly what we thought it was going to be with Elko. They've been really solid, and I just keep going back to this game and going like, this is a really, really well balanced game. And it's really going to come down to me is can the LSU defense get any stops? Because if they can get enough stops, I think they can potentially win this game. But for me, that defense right now is still 38th in the country in SP+. You need it to be a little bit higher if you're going to be a serious playoff contender and win games like these on the road.
Man, I'm feeling it, bro. I'm feeling it, absolutely. Sarah, LSU versus A&M. Andy's saying it's a separation game. He's saying that the loser is adios muchachos for the playoffs. I want to get your thoughts concerning this game because I think this might be the game of the year in the SEC.
Oh, I 100% agree. And I think it really does have to do with the fact that both of these teams are extremely, extremely evenly matched in those parts that are really going to matter. I've been impressed with Nussmeier, though, like coming back and playing these really great games. I think that they've looked a lot stronger and they seem to have a lot more confidence in themselves, which has done a lot. Their defense seems to be making the plays, but I really like A&M. There's just something about them. I really like the fact that they have bounced back as well as they have. I think Elko has really given Wegman, enough room to really make those plays. And I think that, again, I mean, this is what I love about these college games and these SEC and Big Ten games. I mean, it's going to come down to both sides of those lines. I mean, both are extremely impressive. And it's going to be on who can actually get pressure on those quarterbacks. And I really think that that's going to be what decides this game, in my opinion, because I think that that's the kind of game that we all want. And I really have a feeling that that's the kind of game we're going to get. I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be entertaining. I think both coaches can be really good. Kelly still drives me absolutely bonkers, and I've said that before.
Yeah, fact.
So I think it's definitely going to be an elimination. I think if whoever does lose this game is definitely not going to make it into the playoffs because there's just too many teams that have better records. And I mean, that'll be another SEC team with a loss, and you'll still have that one team then with no losses. So it's going to get interesting. So I'm really, really excited for it. This has actually I've looked at this game probably for the past 2 weeks because I've just been really impressed with A&M since they've had this resurgence after their loss to Notre Dame. So it's all going to be about who makes that great comeback.
Yeah. I like the trenches, like you said, Sarah, for both teams. I think that LSU definitely has 2 first-round NFL tackles, but I think that Texas A&M got 2 first-round NFL draft picks on the defensive line. So I think that they're going to go at it, and it's going to be who can make the play. So I like Texas A&M to win. Matter of fact, I like anybody who's got to go to Kyle Field. They're going to lose. If you play A&M at home, that 12-man is going to kick into high gear, and they're the real deal. I don't know if y'all have been down there. I've seen it live and in person, and it's nothing to play with. It's nothing to play with. That thing gets loud. So I like A&M to win. Give me the A&M to win 31-24 against LSU. Andy, who you got, bro?
I want Brian Kelly fired. I just don't like him. I want LSU to be good again, and I hate picking Brian Kelly teams. I do this every week, Big G. You know this. I pick against Lane Kiffin. I pick against Brian Kelly. It makes me look bad, but I'm going to pick against Brian Kelly. Give me Texas A&M to win this game 27-25. Think it's a close game. Think Vegas is right on the money here. Texas A&M wins this one in a close one, and Texas A&M puts itself right in that playoff conversation.
Andy, you see I got the sign that says write that in that purple. That's for Brian Kelly. Write that, Brian Kelly. You up out of here. Big trash coach. Sarah, who you got to win this game?
Yeah, I'm going with that too. I'm going with A&M. I think it's going to be a close game, but I just really like that team, and they're going to be home. And from what I have not experienced it, but on TV and from what I've heard, it's absolutely bonkers. And actually, it even looked like the home team in this matchup, which they have every single year. The home team has been winning for the past 7 years, and I don't see that changing right now. So I'm going with Texas A&M for 27-21.
I like it. All right, y'all. You know where we're at in the podcast. We do our little trap game you need to watch. All eyes need to be on it. And listen, for y'all that watch us live on YouTube or listen to us, we are college football extraordinaires. Like, we watch games that don't nobody else watch just because we know we're going to see great play. And we're all numbers people. We all lock in. We all watch like that all 22 rewind stuff. We love college football. So we're going to give you our sneaky pick of the week. Sarah, I'm going to go to you. Who you got for your sneaky pick of the game this week?
I really am intrigued to see this Penn State game against Wisconsin. Wisconsin has actually looked really, really good these past few weeks, and they're actually putting up some points. And I mean, they always have a really, really solid defense. So, and if you want to talk about a trap game, I mean, they're looking at Ohio State next week, and that this is the time for them to lose. I truly believe that. I think it's just going to be a super fun Big Ten game, and I would love to see the upset. And I just don't have the faith in that offense like everyone else seems to have. Like, I like Aller. I think he's good. And I like their tight end is fascinating to watch. He's
a beast.
He's a beast.
He's a beast.
I just, how much longer can you make him your number one receiver and really think that he's not going to get taken out of the game? And I wouldn't be surprised if Wisconsin can pull that off. So that is my trap game for the week, because I just think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And I think Wisconsin can possibly pull off that upset.
Facts. Andy, who you got, man, this week for your sneaky game?
I feel like I keep going back to them every so often, but Friday night, 10:30 p.m. out in Vegas, Boise State playing UNLV at Allegiant Stadium. Vegas says that Boise is a 2.5-point favorite. Bill C's numbers have Boise winning this game by a single point. It's gonna be close, and this is me saying I think this is the Ashton Jeanty come out game, because UNLV, damn good team. UNLV wants to win this game, because if they do, they're in control and they're getting into that playoff spot in the Mountain West in the group of 5. So for Boise, this is the biggest game of their season right now. And I'm so excited to watch and see what happens. But I'm gonna need some coffee though to watch that. 10:30 ticket. It's rough.
I'll be watching that.
Man, big facts, man. Listen, this is the last week of October, and it's F around and find out October. So I got the game that I think that might be closer than what all y'all think. Illinois is traveling out to Oregon, to Eugene. Illinois wants a game in a phone booth. They want to physically beat Oregon up, and they got the bodies to do it. I didn't think they did until I saw what they did to Michigan. Because Michigan, like they might be big trash this season, but one thing Michigan's going to do is they're going to beat you up physically. And Illinois said, really? Man, we'll put these old school rugby leather helmets on and go in there and beat the brake shoes off you at your own game. And I think that's the tempo that Illinois is going out there to Oregon with. I think they're going to get nasty with Oregon. They're going to get physical with them, and they're going to be like, okay, yeah, we know you got 4.2 speed on the outside, but where are you going to get it? How is he going to pass it if the quarterback's laying on his back? Because when I'm telling you Illinois got pressure on Michigan, Illinois got pressure on Michigan. So, and Michigan's supposed to have a really good offensive line, so I don't know. And so I think that the last F around and find out game of the month, and if that happens, now we got another new number one. So that'll give us 4 for 4 for the month of October. So I like Illinois versus Oregon. I think the game's going to be closer than what everybody thinks. All right, closing shots, parting shots. Sarah, talk to them. Let them know what's cracking with you and with the Level Up crew.
I mean, looking at another really great weekend. I am going to be sadly working for a lot of it, so I'm going to be watching a lot of tape after I get home from work. So that's going to be my life this weekend, is going to be work and then more work, which is football. But at least I enjoy that part a little bit more. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And then for that first week in November, I'll be able to sit down and watch every single minute of college football.
Big facts. Andy P, man, what's going on with you, man? And let the people know where they can find you, dog. Got the big fine.
There's the fine.
There's
a
got the big fine. I caught it.
right at the end, too. God,
Yeah.
I knew it. Nah, you can check me out on my Substack as always. And again, we'll be doing wellness checks on me Friday morning based off of how Thursday night goes.
Yeah. You know, I put them in annually. You know, all the teams that love who they love, I got to check on you to make sure everything's okay. And I'm not trying to troll you. I'm just checking to make sure, because heart rates have been accelerated and furniture has been moved around and dogs have been choked out and people have been beat down. It's a lot of stuff that's done happen when losses happen. So I got to make sure everybody's okay. But thanks again for rocking with us on the Level Up College Football Podcast, y'all. We have had a blast. Thank you guys for everybody watching us over in the live chat. We got a lot of people watching us. We got a couple of loves out there. Thank you again. You can find me weekly on the Level Up College Football Podcast along with the crew for the Level Up. Make sure you check out all our platforms and everything on Fans First Sports Network. As for Big G, Sarah C, and Andy P, we'll holler at y'all next week and have a great weekend. Peace.